disquieting to your, little bubble. So let's, we had a couple of topics planned, but I feel very talkative today. I felt very talkative recently. And I think some folks may notice a pretty drastic change in my
energy.
Wait,
talk more?
What was I?
You've already talked a whole bunch already.
I know.
Yeah, that's what he's alluding to, you idiot.
He's saying he's in the mood to talk.
So you're going to talk more?
I know.
Yes.
It's almost like we have a weekly talk show where we can do that. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of talking about Star Wars Battlefront 2, because
everybody does.
Because I already made all of the best points about that earlier on in the show.
Right.
Let's go ahead and talk about
dicks.
Anxiety gaming.
Oh.
Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, we went to a charity event for anxiety gaming. This would have been what was this, 2 weeks ago?
It was the 11th,
It was the weekend of Extra Life, wasn't
Yes.
it? So it would have been like the 9th.
Yeah. Okay. So we went to this event called Anxiety Gaming, and it was a great event. We had a lot of fun. It was out in Ann Arbor. It was
the 5th.
It was a part of Arbor Esports. Shout out to them. If you're in Ann Arbor, if you're in Michigan, and you want a cool bunch of folks to kind of go play games with, they're very open. They'll let anyone kind of come in and hang out. So make sure you check that out, Arbor Esports. But Anxiety Gaming was attached to the event, and what Anxiety Gaming is this very cool charity, this nonprofit that connects gamers with mental health professionals. And finding out about that charity actually kind of started an internal conversation with myself, and I think it made me really do some gut checks about what I was doing with Limit Break Radio and finally Countercast and Checkpoint. It made me do some very difficult gut checks about where I was with some of my own personal relationships, and I've found that I've been doing a lot of reflecting in the last 2 weeks, and I think I've come to a point, and I think I've decided that I have been depressed for a while. And I think I only know that because I'm now to the other side of that depression. And, part of it, I do want to thank our fans, our listeners, for kind of putting up with it, because the way that, depression works, if you're not a depressed person, is that it can rob you of your work ethic. It can rob you of your drive, your ambition, and I think it did all of those things. Now, I do not have debilitating depression. I have functional depression. I am a very high functioning depressive. Robbie, okay. I'm glad you're back in, because I want to talk to you about this. If you're willing to talk about it. I don't know if you are.
About what?
We talk about it privately. Depression.
Yeah.
All right.
We're just going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, we're going to put you on the spot. Well, you walked out of the fucking room as I was setting up the conversation. I don't know what you're comfortable with, and I don't want to have to retread all of that.
Oh, that was just because I had to go, man.
Oh, you had to pee or something? What is going on with your microphone?
I don't know. I wasn't sure if that was just me or my headphones.
No, that's you. That's
okay.
Your microphone. That's better. Depression has been a fairly big part of probably the last 2 or 3 years of my life. Like, probably the entirety of Limit Break Radio's run. And honestly, because I think if I have to trace a lot of this back, it was to my big 10-year relationship that blew up and trying to sort out all of the pieces parts of that. Mm-hmm. And I had the hubris to go, I can do it all myself. I don't need help. I don't need a therapist. I don't need anyone to talk to. And it's subsequently taken me 2-3 years to come to some kind of
self-realization, resolution, crossroads.
Not even. I don't think it's even that. It's just to even get insight on my own behavior, to have enough distance from the thing I was depressed about. And I'll be honest, it was a relationship. It was a relationship that wasn't working, that I knew wasn't working, but that the other person wouldn't tell me is not working. And so I had to navigate that alone and come to that conclusion alone. That can be really confusing. It can be really frustrating too. Mm-hmm. You're trying to read another person. And I'm sharing this not as an excuse to, say this is why, Limit Break Radio hasn't been as good as it could be, or Final Encountercast hasn't been as good as it could be. I'm proud of everything that I make. I think Checkpoint Radio is amazing. I think Limit Break Radio is amazing. I think Final Encountercast is amazing. But I think that I have improvements to do on myself. So to you guys, to you guys as a crew, I know that I can be difficult to work with. That's tough. And I do want to apologize to you guys for what I put you through sometimes. It's not easy. And don't cut me any slack because, I'm being a nice guy right now. I know how much of a dick I can be. I really do. And sometimes it really takes overstepping the line to give you perspective on like exactly how shitty your behavior is. And I did. Last Tuesday I had that with you guys. In the fucking chat room.
I'm glad you brought this up because I actually wanted to
flip my shit.
But I also want to actually commend you because that wasn't like when you usually flip your shit. Like, yes, you were a little manic, but you still did it in a way that didn't, make me lay there in my bed thinking, oh my God, Nate's gonna fucking kill somebody.
Yeah, but you know what? Though I have done that.
And
the fact that I have done that makes me feel bad. And yeah. I'm not necessarily apologizing for the most recent conflict that we as a crew have had. It's sort of like, I do kind of recognize that wasn't as bad as it normally is, and that there was some shit that I was able to control.
No, that one was very tolerable.
Very tame, very tame.
Well, it also happened at like 3:00 in the morning.
And no one was responding to you, which is probably why...
Which made it worse, honestly. Like it
made it better for us.
I basically burned myself out on an empty chat room.
Yeah, which is the best way to do
it. And then, but the shitty thing that I started to do was to try to hold you guys accountable for not being there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, I want to have a meeting about it.
Which I'm glad that you realized.
I'm such a piece of shit sometimes.
That's when we have to bring up, like, Nate, we're sleeping.
I know.
I went to bed at 10 o'clock that day.
Dude, listen, as soon as I was able to, I was operating on I think 3 or 4 days with very, very little sleep. And as soon as I was able to get some sleep and look at the way that I was behaving over those 4 days, listen, I'm glad that I have plenty of people around me that know me as a person well enough to be able to put up with me and know that he's just going through some shit. There's the amount of people that will do that are very few and far between. I know because I had to end my relationship with my psychologist because a little bit of that leaked out and I got pissed at their front office.
Oh no.
I did.
Not without warning.
No, it was totally fair. Yeah. All of my complaints were well justified. I just did not express it very well.
I can attest to that. I've also not expressed myself well in a doctor's office before.
And they just cut you off. They're just like, we're done. We're done.
Yeah, as soon as you say one swear word, then you're
and you know what?
Halfway out the door.
Let me tell you something. And I don't know if this is because I'm just putting a lot of shit together right now, if it's because I'm thinking clearly, not without the depression, but it really connected a dot for me. And this is the thought that we're going to have to end on here for Final Encountercast today. Mental health is a problem in this country. We talk, and the problem with mental health is that it's only a conversation that happens around tragedy. It's not a normal conversation because it's personal. It's intensely personal. It's scary to open yourself up to other people like that, especially when they can make memes of you.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the meme. I don't give a shit. Make the meme of me. I don't fucking care. Share this. Spread this around. If this connects to your heart, spread it around. There's a lot of different ways to share shit from Twitch and more than enough platforms to spread them on. You guys have your own small sphere of influence, and if this connects with you, if this idea connects with you, then spread it around. But because mental health is only talked about around tragedies, we don't meaningfully address it. When someone starts talking about mental health around a tragedy, they're dog whistling. They're trying to get you off of the point that you're on, whether it's a political point about gun control, whether it's whatever. It is a legitimate part of that debate, don't get me wrong, but do not let that obscure what the actual point that people are driving at is. And to do that, it means that we have to have conversations around mental health that don't also include guns. It needs to happen in different communities first before we can have a wider conversation about it. That's what anxiety gaming does. It forces us to have that conversation. And if you're struggling, it provides you resources. That's it. That's my final point. That's my last point. Okay? If guns are a problem, mental health is a problem, but the way that we talk about mental health is more important. Because if it only happens when people die, then we're not having the right conversation.
Yeah, people have to know that it's okay to get help before you reach that breaking point.
Mental health, it happens across the continuum. And when I went into my doctor's office, my mental health professional's office, and I was a little bit wired from no sleep and still trying to function, a bit frustrated with the way that they schedule appointments because it doesn't work for my profession that I'm in, and they stopped working with me, and I expressed myself poorly. They severed the relationship. This is a mental health clinic. Those are 3 signs of someone who is asking for some kind of help. And instead, they got scared and they showed me the door. And that happens far too often because no one is serving as a check and a balance against mental health. There are enough psychologists out there that only want to make a buck off of you and don't actually care about you, that make that world difficult to navigate. I get it. I ran into one myself, and it sucks. But there is hope. There are other people. You have options. Sometimes those are limited by financial options, but there are resources for you out there, and you can find them. I promise you, if you look hard enough, you can find them. Google's a thing. Take it upon yourself to do something for yourself. Stop doing like I was doing and telling yourself that you're a piece of shit and that you don't deserve help. And go get it. That's it. We're gonna end on that thought. Coming up next, here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, we're going to have the latest episode of the Checkpoint podcast. Stick around. It is a great conversation surrounding the show Future Man that you can find on Hulu. Want to thank my crew. Callie, even though he's not here. Chris, Nika,